It started like any other ordinary day in a quiet neighborhood tucked just beyond the edge of the city. The morning air was soft with mist, birds chirped like nothing was wrong in the world, and cars hummed gently along wet roads. But for Emily, a local nurse finishing her night shift, this morning would change everything. As she turned onto the gravel path leading to her street, headlights swept across something small and motionless near the curb. At first, she thought it was just a pile of torn cloth, something blown off a garbage bin. But then it moved. She slammed the brakes. Her heart skipped. Emily stepped out, not even closing the car door behind her. The early chill wrapped around her, but her focus was frozen on the fragile creature before her. It was a dog, no bigger than a loaf of bread, drenched and matted, trembling with every shallow breath. One of its legs was twisted unnaturally beneath it, and the other three barely seemed strong enough to hold its frame. "Oh no, hey there, baby," she whispered, kneeling slowly. The dog flinched but didn't move away. He looked up at her, eyes full of pain, but more than that, a quiet, desperate hope. His tail, barely more than a wet string, gave a single, weak wag. Emily felt her throat tighten. She reached out gently, letting him sniff her hand. Then, with the slow care of someone used to handling fragile lives, she picked him up. He whimpered softly but didn't fight. Inside the car, she wrapped him in a towel from her trunk, turned the heater on full blast, and whispered comforting nonsense until his trembling subsided. Her hospital bag was tossed aside. Nothing else mattered. The nearest 24-hour vet was a 20-minute drive away. Emily sped like her own life depended on it. As she drove, she kept glancing at the little bundle on the seat beside her. He was trying to stay awake, trying to keep his head up, trying to trust. But what shattered her most was when she slowed at a stop sign, and the dog tried, despite everything, to stand up and crawl toward her. He couldn't walk, but he still tried. "Sweetheart," she said, her voice cracking, "you're not alone anymore. I promise." The vet clinic smelled of antiseptic and fear. A soft bell chimed as Emily burst through the door. A young woman at the desk jumped up immediately. "Emergency intake. Found him injured on the street. He can't walk. He's freezing, he's starving. Please help him." The receptionist hit a button, and within seconds, a tech was there with a stretcher. Emily placed the dog gently down. She didn't even know his name, but he looked back at her as he was wheeled away, those same eyes still holding on. An hour passed. Then two. Emily sat in the waiting room, still in her scrubs, still holding that damp towel, still staring at the swinging doors. Finally, a vet stepped out, mid-30s, tired eyes but kind. "You saved him," the vet said gently. "He's severely malnourished. Looks like he's been living on scraps for months. Right hind leg's broken in 2 places. But the good news is, it's fixable." Emily let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. "What about the spine?" He tried to walk. "It's not neurological. Just weakness, dehydration, and pain. He wanted to move because he saw you as safety. That alone says a lot." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Can I see him?" The vet nodded. "We've given him pain meds. He's resting now, but I think he'd like that." In the dimmed recovery room, the little dog lay on a soft blanket, and 4 in 1 paw, his body finally warm. He lifted his head slowly when Emily entered. His tail moved again. She knelt beside him, brushing his fur gently. "You brave little soul," she whispered. "You didn't give up, not even when the world did." He blinked slowly. His body was too weak to respond much, but his eyes never left hers. She spent hours there, until the vet politely reminded her to rest. Emily gave the clinic her number, begged them to call if anything changed, and left only when reassured that he was stable. At home, she couldn't sleep. Not properly. She lay in bed replaying everything. His broken form, the effort it took just to crawl toward her, the look in his eyes. She didn't know who had abandoned him, but she knew what came next. She was going back, and she wasn't leaving without him. End of section 1. Continue when instructed. Morning light crept through Emily's curtains, but she barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his tiny, broken body dragging itself forward, toward her. Toward hope. By 7 a.m., she was up, dressed, and back at the clinic with a small bag of treats, a soft blanket, and a heart full of silent prayers. The receptionist recognized her immediately and waved her in without question. "He's been waiting for you," she said with a smile. When Emily stepped into the room, she found him awake, head lifted, tail flicking gently against the blanket. His ears perked up when he saw her, and though he couldn't move much, the joy in his eyes was unmistakable. "Hey there, little warrior," she whispered, kneeling beside him. She offered a small treat. He sniffed it, then gingerly licked it from her hand. The way he trusted her, completely, so quickly, made her eyes well up. Dr. Raymond, the vet, entered moments later. "Good news," he said, looking between the two. "We've stabilized him. We can operate on the leg as early as tomorrow morning." Emily looked up. "Will he ever walk normally again?" Dr. Raymond paused, then nodded. "It'll take time. A lot of physical therapy. But he's young, and he's got spirit. That's half the battle." The thought of him walking again, running, playing, brought a soft smile to Emily's face. "I want to foster him," she said suddenly. "No, adopt him. I want him to come home with me." Raymond gave her a thoughtful look. "You sure? It'll be a lot of responsibility. He's going to need extra care for months." "He chose me," she said, stroking the pup's head. "The least I can do is choose him back." Paperwork was filled, arrangements made, and that night, Emily sat beside him again, reading aloud from an old novel while he rested, as if trying to give him the normalcy he'd never had. She named him Chance, because despite everything he'd been through, he hadn't given up on the chance to live or to love. The next morning, surgery went ahead. Emily waited outside the operating room, her hands clutched tight, breath shallow. She'd faced trauma in hospitals before, held dying patients, comforted grieving families. But this was different. This was personal. After what felt like a lifetime, Dr. Raymond came out, removing his gloves. "He did great," he said, and Emily felt the tears spring before she could stop them. "Clean break. We pinned the bone. He'll be sore for a while, but recovery looks good." Chance was asleep when she saw him next, his leg bandaged, eyes fluttering in dreams. Emily sat beside him, brushing her fingers through his fur, whispering promises. "You're safe now. I've got you. Always." Days passed. Then a week. Emily visited every day, before and after work, bringing him treats, reading him stories, gently massaging his legs as the vet showed her. Bit by bit, Chance began to heal. The day he stood, really stood, on all fours for the first time, the entire clinic clapped. Emily knelt and opened her arms. Chance, shaky and wobbly, limped toward her, one uncertain step at a time. But he made it. He collapsed into her lap, tail wagging, tongue out, licking her cheek like he'd just won a marathon. "You did it," she whispered, laughing through tears. "You really did it." 2 weeks later, he came home. Emily had prepared everything. A cushioned bed, ramps around the house, toys, bowls, even a custom name tag. As soon as he entered, he sniffed every corner, tail wagging slowly but steadily. Then he curled up on the rug like he'd always belonged there. Because he had. Neighbors came to meet him. Her best friend, Tanya, brought over a basket of dog treats and asked, half-jokingly, "So who rescued who here?" Emily just smiled. Every evening became their time. Walks, short at first, turned into strolls. Chance would trot beside her, slower than most dogs but proud, confident. And every night, he'd rest his head in her lap as they watched TV, her hand always on his back. He had nightmares sometimes, whimpers in the dark, moments where he'd wake and flinch. But she was always there, whispering softly, calming him. One evening, after a long day, Emily lay on the floor beside him. She looked into those same brown eyes and whispered, "You followed me home, when you couldn't even walk." "Why?" He didn't answer, of course. But the way he nudged her face with his nose and sighed into her neck said more than words ever could. End of section 2. Continue when instructed. Months passed. Seasons shifted. And with every sunrise, Chance grew stronger. What started as baby steps on soft rugs soon turned into light jogs in the backyard. The first time he ran, truly ran, Emily wept. Not because it was fast or perfect, but because it was free. No more hesitation. No more pain. He ran because he could. Emily recorded every milestone. His first bark, his first bath at home, the first time he climbed onto the couch without help. Her phone was filled with pictures and videos of his goofy grin and tilted head. He had become more than just a rescued dog. He was her story now, her shadow, her joy, her reason to smile when everything else felt heavy. But healing wasn't just physical. There were times Chance would still cower at loud noises. Trash bags terrified him. Fast-moving feet made him flinch. It took time, patience, and love to undo what others had done. Emily never rushed him. She let him relearn the world, step by step, with her hand always nearby. One morning, Emily took Chance to the local animal park. It was his first time around other dogs. She was nervous, worried it might overwhelm him. But as she unclipped his leash, Chance looked up at her, tail wagging, as if to say, "Asterisk, it's okay now. I trust you, asterisk." He took off slowly at first, but then faster. He sniffed, he played, he barked, softly at first, then louder. Another dog came up to him. He paused, then licked its ear. Just like that, he had a friend. Emily sat on a nearby bench, tears in her eyes, watching a dog that had once been discarded like trash now running with joy, whole again. A couple sitting beside her noticed. "That your pup?" the man asked. "Yeah," she said, brushing her cheek. "He couldn't even walk when I found him." "Doesn't look like it now," the woman said, smiling. Emily nodded. "He taught me something about not giving up, about what love can do when nothing else works." That evening, Emily posted a photo online. Chance asleep with his head in her lap. The caption read, "He couldn't walk, but he still tried to follow me home. And I let him in. That one moment changed 2 lives forever." The post went viral. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of comments. People from all over the world messaged her, thanking her, crying with her, sharing their own rescue stories. Some even said they'd been inspired to adopt. But for Emily, the attention didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was the quiet breathing beside her every night. Chance had his forever home, and she had hers. A year later, on the anniversary of the day she found him, Emily and Chance went back to the same corner where it all began. She placed a small sign there. "Here is where hope began. He couldn't walk, but love carried him home." She looked down at Chance, who sat proudly at her feet. "You ready?" He barked once. Strong, confident, and together they walked down the path. This time side by side. // End of section 3, story complete.